Hi, this hi, this is the New World Resistance. This is not going to be a long video at all. Seriously, I just wanted to come because Billy and Ryan and I were here, and we came into the studio because Billy forgot to get something that she left in the studio yesterday. And when we came into the studio, the thought came to me, and I said, no, before we leave, I have to make this video. As you all know, Jimmy Carter, the peanut picker, his wife Rosalind passed away. I think it was sometime last week or whatever she did. But they had her funeral. I believe it was this week, and they showed Jimmy Carter at the funeral. And Jimmy Carter really looks almost unrecognizable. People, let me tell you exactly what that is. Now, Billie Eilish said what she said yesterday about Beyonce, and so I'm going to tell you the truth about Jimmy Carter. Going back from the early beginning, if you go and look online, you probably won't find it on YouTube, but you'll find it on BitChute. You may find it. I find it on other websites, but you really have to do some searching. They talked about how Jimmy Carter had been replaced with an organic robotoid. There was a man named Dr. Peter Beater, who was one of the main ones stating this, that Jimmy Carter had been replaced as with an organic, or as I think Dr. Peter called him, a synthetic robotoid. What Dr. Peter had said was absolutely correct. Jimmy Carter, from way back in the 70s, 1972, 1973, he was a robotoid. That's who he has been since the 70s on up. Okay, and when they replaced him with a robotoid, the real Jimmy Carter was underground, still living on for years. But they kept the real Jimmy Carter underground for years, and they brought in front of the public the robotoid Jimmy Carter, because the robotoid Jimmy Carter was the one that they could control. Then there was a time when Jimmy Carter had ran a marathon, and he had collapsed on the field of the marathon, of the track of the marathon that he was running, and they took him away to Camp David, and he came back several hours later, and he was just as spry like nothing had happened. When they took him away to Camp David, they used the DNA from the original Jimmy Carter to create another robotoid. That's the one that they brought back. Now, when you go to so fast forward all of that, fast forward years now to present day. At that funeral, who you saw at the funeral, that's the real Jimmy Carter. That's the real flesh and blood Jimmy Carter. That's not the robotoid. That's why he looks so old and unrecognizable. That's the real him. The robotoid him is now out of function. And they feel that, because eventually they're going to do away with Jimmy Carter. They're going to say he died or so. They're going to tell that to the public. And so knowing that they're going to tell that to the public, they can now bring forth the real Jimmy Carter. So that way, people can say, oh, that's why, he looks so old. Then Billy R brings up a good point. She just brought a good point. Now that his wife is gone, now they can go ahead and do it. They can bring forth the real Jimmy Carter. Because the robotoid Jimmy Carter, if you go back and look up the last pictures of old, supposedly old real Jimmy Carter, maybe like from 2020, 2021, you will see that's the robotoid. You'll see that robotoid looks totally different than this Jimmy Carter that's at the funeral. This Jimmy Carter that's at the funeral, he looked like he has aged. There's no way in the world the Jimmy Carter that we saw in 2020 or even 2021 could have aged from how we saw him in 2021 to what he looked like at that funeral. There's no way in HE double hockey sticks. But what you're seeing is the real Jimmy Carter, just like with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, back in the 80s, he burned his top of his head and the majority of his face in the Coca-Cola concert that he had. Well, Michael Jackson was severely burned. And they knew the ones who control Hollywood, which were the Illuminati, they knew they could not bring that badly burned Michael Jackson in front of the public because people would have nightmares. I mean, this is how bad that man looked. They would go, what the hell? Oh my God. They wouldn't want to go see concerts with him. They're used to seeing pretty faced Michael Jackson. So what they did, they brought forth a robotoid of Michael Jackson. And that robotoid of Michael Jackson carried on as Michael Jackson from the time of the 80s concert burning all the way up into the end. Now, when they took out the robotoid Michael Jackson by saying he died, what they did, you had the real Michael Jackson make an appearance on Larry King's show when Larry King was live. That real Michael Jackson made an appearance on Larry King's show was called Dave Dave. If you look at that interview that Larry King did with this Michael Jackson friend named Dave Dave, you'll see that man named Dave Dave, that's the real Michael Jackson right there. That is the real Michael Jackson. You can tell by his eyes, and you can tell by the things he's saying that that's the real Michael Jackson. That's him right there. And that Dave Dave guy, he has made appearances several times. He's been on that TV show Atlanta with the guy Childish Gambino. I can't think of the guy who's his real name, but he goes by the music name Childish Gambino. Childish Gambino was the one that made the TV show Atlanta. He's been on that show. He's been at award shows. And so that's the real Michael Jackson. And the real Michael Jackson made an appearance on the Larry King show on the day that we were all told that Michael Jackson died, but that wasn't Michael Jackson who died. That was the robotoid that they just unplugged. So just like it is with Michael Jackson, that's what it is with Carter. At that funeral, that's the real Jimmy Carter that was replaced back in 1971 or 1972, that's the real him. But you are now just seeing him for the first time since 1971 or 1972 because of the fact that they let the public go on and see him with us, because this is going, if you see him like that, you'll understand, oh, he's almost, I see why he went to hospice care. He's almost on his way out. That's why they brought him forward, because if they bring back forth that robotoid doesn't look anywhere near death. But they know they have to get rid of that robotoid because for whatever reason in the Illuminati's mind, they feel, okay, it's time for him to unplug. And they just want to unplug that robotoid. But if you look at that robotoid that was around in 2020, 2021, and maybe the early stages of 2022, that robotoid doesn't look anywhere near death. They couldn't bring that robotoid to the funeral. They have to bring the original to the funeral because the original is near death. He is near, and thank you, universe. He is near death. That's why they had to bring the original to the funeral. Another thing, the reason why they're unplugging the robotoid Jimmy Carter is because, see, by the real Jimmy Carter being near death, because he is near death, by the real Jimmy Carter being near death, they can't make any more robotoids from the original, because the DNA of that original is going to die out once the original dies out. So they can't make any more robotoids of Jimmy Carter. So if they can't make any more robotoids of Jimmy Carter, how is Jimmy Carter going to exist? So since they can't make any more robotoids of that Jimmy Carter, say that Jimmy Carter has died and take out that robotoid Jimmy Carter and just be done with that whole story. And that's why they said, oh, Jimmy Carter's going to the hospital. He's soon going to die. Because I'm telling you, if they could, if the real Jimmy Carter could live for like another 15, 10, I say not another 15, I say another maybe about 2 or 3, 4, 5 years, they would allow it. They would actually allow it. They would keep the robotoid going on in public. But they can't, because that original is old. And he's starting to die. The original Jimmy Carter is in the final stages. So this is why they told the public that Jimmy Carter has gone into hospice, and he had the robotoid to go into hospice. They're telling everybody, yeah, he's gone into hospice, but of course they didn't put the robotoid in hospice. But this is why they're saying that, oh, Jimmy Carter doesn't have long to live, so his family is saying their final goodbyes, and they're spending as much time, because they're letting people know they're about to, the Jimmy Carter's about to die, but they're about to unplug Jimmy Carter because they can make no more robotoids off of him. So that's what we want to come and say. But yes, people, that Jimmy Carter that was at the funeral. That's the real. You have not seen that version of Jimmy Carter since 1972. And the wife, Rosalind Carter, the one that was in that coffin, that was a real Rosalind. That was a real Rosalind. Because see, the real Jimmy Carter and the real Rosalind that was on this earth from birth, yeah, of course they're old. By now, yeah, 1972, they're old. And and of course, and see, they probably could have lived a little bit longer, but the real ones, they was up there at all the orgies and all of the, and so, if you live that type of life, you're not going to live long. Even though you were born, you were around in 1972, you're not going to live long. And so they probably could have lived even much longer than what they lived. But, well, Jimmy's still alive. But that's why they're, Rosalind in that coffin, that was the real Rosalind. She really did die. But Jimmy Carter at that funeral, that's the real Jimmy Carter, and they brought him out into the public. No one has seen the original from birth Jimmy Carter since 1972, and that's what you saw. That's not the Robotoid. The Robotoid is going to stay underground, but the Robotoid is done, period. They've already unplugged the Robotoid. That Robotoid will stay unplugged because he can't use it anymore. It will stay unplugged until all the way up until we hear that this real Jimmy Carter has died. And one last thing I want to say, the reason why they will not bring up the Robotoid anymore, because every time they bring up that Robotoid of Jimmy Carter, it malfunctions because of the fact that even the DNA that they took from the original Jimmy Carter to put in that Robotoid is causing it to malfunction, because the DNA that's coming from the original is the original is failing, and so the DNA from that original is failing. And so that's what I wanted to say. What you looked at that funeral was the real Jimmy Carter. This is why he looks so he is one last time for people to get it. There's no way, and I know because I have family members. I had a aunt who lived, I think she was 109, 110, and her name was B. And I know for a fact, from 2020 or 2021, there's no way in hell you can age that fast in just 2 years. That man looked like he has been aging for, it looked like it took him from, about, like I say, 2019, 2018, 2017 to get that to that age. It's like he aged that quick. There's no way to do it but the reason why he looks that bad is because he was aging all that time underground, the real him, and that's who they brought up at the funeral. So just wanted to come and state that, people, so you all don't get confused. Now you all can say you all don't believe it. Please, whatever. Stay asleep. This is the truth. A lot of people know that Carter was a Robotoid, and a lot of people know that what I'm saying and what we all here at the New World Order is saying is true, because this is what goes on. So just wanted to come and state that so you all can get clearance. When you see these pictures of Carter, you won't be thinking, oh my God, poor him. Oh, no, please. This is, you all should be saying, oh my God, we're finally seeing the original Jimmy Carter, because that's exactly what you're saying. Right, and you heard what Billy R.L. said yesterday about the celebrities and Beyonce, and see, it doesn't just happen with the celebrities. It goes from the celebrities to the politicians as well. And so, just wanted to come and give you that information. Like, comment, subscribe if you wish. Love yourselves and those around you.